All right, everybody, so we're finally back and working on this workroom. We got all the seams done. We ended up hiring that out. I think that was probably a pretty good choice, although we ended up having to sand a lot more than we kind of wanted to. But as you can see, my wife is doing considerably more work than me. That's the best way to handle these things. And plus, I mean, she's so much better at this than I am. So, you know, I just got to let her do what she's good at, and I'll do the like 3 things that I'm good at. So I'm going to bring you guys in here, show you guys where we're at with the workroom and where we're trying to get to by the end of this episode. All right, so as you guys can probably see, the room is all seamed, and very clearly we have wiped down all the walls. They do still look really dusty, but they are not, which is good. And next, we need to get the floor cleaned up so that we're not kicking up more dust. And we are also going to kind of clean up some of this stuff that got crazy dusty because I left it in here while the guy was working. You know, maybe shouldn't have done that. But anyway, gonna clean up this room, get it ready for paint, and then I think we're gonna paint it today. My wife is working on her woodworking bench, which will help us build my bench and these super cool shelves that we're gonna put all the way around the top of the workroom. So let's get this toolkit out. I'm gonna clean that while I wait for the rest of the drywall to dry and be totally ready for paint. And then we will move on to getting this room primed and painted. All right, so it's like 3 hours later. I know that you guys are so sad that you missed out on all of the exciting stuff that we're doing. But in the meantime, my wife has moved on. Her miter saw is now on the ground because she is cutting all of the pieces for her super cool workbench that she is building. This is going to have that miter saw on top of it, as well as a nice fold out side. That's going to be great in the workroom on the left side. So let's go take a look at the workroom. After about an hour, we have basically a first coat on everything. So ceiling, walls, and the floor is looking a little cleaner. The dust is all off of it. It's still kind of a mess. So we're gonna go ahead and put the second coat on, and then we are going to move on to the, hey, wait a minute. Is there someone behind there? Oh, look at that. Then we're gonna move on to the fun stuff, which is epoxy in the floor, mounting the pegboard, and all the cool stuff that comes along with that. So, moving on. So, instead of moving on to do that paint, what we're gonna be doing now is putting together the workbench that's gonna go back over here. I wanted to do kind of a butcher block kind of bench, and I might do that in the future, but at this point, they're all really expensive. They're all like upwards of $250 and up. And I wanted to see if I could maybe cut down an IKEA one, but they don't really fit the space. Nothing really fits, and it'd have to be pretty custom. So I'm just gonna stick with a nice hardwood sheet of plywood, nice and smooth, and then we are gonna build the frame out, set it up here, and get a workbench reinstalled in this room. And then after that, I've got marks on the walls here. We're gonna put the pegboard up, and then my tools can finally start to make their way back into this room, which is super exciting. So montage time while we cut all of this wood and do lots of really fun, neat stuff. Okay. All right, so that's it for tonight. I'm gonna keep going with this video, but we just are finished for the evening. As you can see, I've got a beautiful new workbench installed here, courtesy of House to House and their resident carpenter, Haley. She did like 95% of the work. I did the 5%, which was like holding the boards and obviously being the pretty one. So I've got this new workbench in, and then tomorrow afternoon I'm going to put up that new pegboard and then kind of put some trim up here to finish this out and make it look really fancy. So I will see you guys in the morning, which for you guys will be like half a second. Goodbye. All right, so that nice trim rail is in, and that just kind of finished off the workbench to make it look a little bit more complete. I'm going to come back and caulk this later to make it look really, really nice. But for right now, I want to get to mounting the pegboard up. And I'm not sure if you guys can see because it's really, really bright in here. But there are lines here, which I drew that mark where the stud is. And I did that while the wall was off. Well, while there was an opening. And I could actually see those studs. And this is where my pegboard's going to mount. So one of the really cool things about having a YouTube channel is sometimes companies are willing to send you products if you use them in your episodes. And that is one of the situations that I'm in right now. A company called Wall Control is sponsoring, well, sort of sponsoring. They're providing the products that's going on the back of this wall here. I did a lot of research on different like pegboard systems that are out there. And honestly, Wall Control is where it's at. I mean, I'm not just saying that because they gave it to me. I was looking and I was really thinking about purchasing that pegboard for myself anyways. But that pegboard comes in panels that are just the standard stud length. So the distance between stud number 1 and number 2, they come in those standard panels, and then they get really tall. They have some kind of regular size panels and some really tall ones. I got the regular sized ones because I've got kind of a smaller room here. But the only drawback is that before I had a pegboard wall that would reach from edge to edge. And that's not going to be the case this time, but it's not the end of the world. The pegboard that I'm getting is a little bit more functional than just standard peg holes. And it's made out of metal, so I can hold a lot heavier stuff, as long as it's mounted to the studs. So I'm going to get that box of stuff. I'm going to open that up and start mounting this up here. Now, one cool thing is that because I'm going to have this empty space on the side, I can kind of decorate on the sides or put speakers up, you know, something kind of cool. So I'm going to get that pegboard, I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Jump cut. All right, so the reason that happened is because my camera died. So that's why everything's up on the wall already. But I've got kind of a preliminary hanging of everything, and it came out pretty well. I think that I probably could have gone a little higher on the pegboard mounting system, but I think it's gonna be okay. We'll put that up there, and then when we put a shelf up there, it's all gonna kind of blend in pretty nicely. And we can always rearrange up at the top and get some like kind of long hanging things. You know, I could probably put my like kayaking oars and things of that kind of nature up there. So it's not all lost or anything like that. So now that I have all of this stuff up, I'm kind of trying to think about what might be next. And I think that the epoxy on the floor is probably going to be the next job to tackle, as well as putting trim around the bottom and then building our cool shelves up at the top to hold all of our like Christmas decorations and camping stuff. So this is looking really good. I am super happy. I hope that you guys think it's pretty cool too. It's gonna make it a lot easier to work in here and really just get stuff done. All right, so the next part is actually going to be the epoxy. I did a whole bunch of filming with the cleaning and the vacuuming, and it just was boring. I decided to omit that. And then we also technically already built the shelves, but those are going to show up after the epoxy. So cue the time lapse of laying that epoxy down. Alright, so that's it for this episode of the garage remodel, and I think this is going to be the last video on this remodel. There's going to be a lot more changes that happen over the next few months and years as this room evolves and kind of takes shape and sculpts itself to be the best room for my wife and I to work in. Her side with all the woodworking stuff, my side with all the mechanics stuff. And I'm not sure that I want to keep going with these videos. It'll get really detail oriented, and I don't think that it'll be very enjoyable for you guys to watch. But if you're interested in seeing the kind of detailed how-to on the things that we did in this remodel and kind of upcoming changes to this room and other spaces in our house, you should check out my wife's DIY blog. She runs that with her friend Amber, and it's housetohouse.com. You'll see the link pop up somewhere around here. A big thanks to them. They helped me kind of do the style aspect of this room. And I think that it turned out really, really nice. It is a workroom, so, you know, some things are a little bit rougher. Obviously, the storage system up above me is just bare wood, but it doesn't need to be anything more than that because it's a workroom, and it looks cool. It came together really, really nicely. Things are much more organized now, and I couldn't be happier. So a big thanks to them. They do some really cool stuff on the website, so check that out. And I also want to say thank you to Wall Control for providing the pegboard for this side and my wife's side of the workshop. I'm going to have a more in-depth review of that as time goes by and I kind of, you know, get to use it and everything. But so far, I'm really impressed with it. I love its construction. It's really tough. And I appreciate that it kind of accepts all the different kind of pegboard stuff. So this will probably grow over time. My wife's definitely will. She doesn't have enough tools yet to fill that out, so we're going to have to change that. But thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Motor on? It was a mosquito.
It's on video. You slapped me.
It was the sweetest slap ever. Got it.